Hello and welcome back to the Reentry Room. This podcast, this space is where we stop pretending that working motherhood has to look or feel one way and we actually start telling the truth about what it actually feels like to be a working mom. I'm Alexis Starks. I'm an award-winning workplace culture innovator, coach for working moms. You know me. I'm the founder of Executive Moms, and I have two little toddlers. All right. Today, we have a fabulous guest interview again. Her name is Emily Guarnotta, and she is a psychologist and a perinatal mental health specialist. And you have been on our roundtables on LinkedIn, and I am so excited to have you here, Emily. Hello, and welcome to the Reentry Room.
Thanks so much for having me.
Can you please, because you're going to do it much better than I can, give a little introduction about yourself and what you do for all of our listeners?
Of course. Like you said, I'm a psychologist and I specialize in perinatal mental health, which is basically a fancy term that means the entire period between trying to conceive through pregnancy, through postpartum, and through those early years of parenting. So I work with individuals and families that are navigating the whole reproductive journey. And I'm one of the co founders of Phoenix Health, which is an online therapy practice that specializes in perinatal mental health. I'm also a mom of two girls, ages 5. We just turned 5 yesterday, so it's going to take me a minute to
Happy
remember that.
birthday!
Yeah, thank you. 5 and 7.
Wow. Okay, so you're officially past toddler years, right? Like what comes after
Yeah,
toddler?
I think I'm in this weird between toddler, preteen. I don't really know what to call it. I don't really know what's going on. Like some days we're acting like toddlers, some days we're acting like preteens.
Oh no.
It's very interesting.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it. My daughter is such a girly girl and she's only 1.5, but it's adorable. So it'll be so cute when she's around that same age. But I want to touch on the online health aspect of it, the online part, because before COVID, I used to see a therapist and it was in person, and then COVID happened and she switched to online services, and it was my very first time ever having an online therapist. I don't see her anymore, but it was like really, really life changing. I highly recommend everyone should go to therapy. But online really unlocked this ability to not have to leave my house for it. And it was like this new phenomenon. I mean, do you feel like it opens up the door to a lot of women and families who find it more convenient?
100%. Yeah. A little personal story about me is I'm also a postpartum depression survivor. And when I had my first child, a little over 7 years ago, and I was going through it, I had so much trouble finding a therapist that I was able to see because the thought of finding an hour in my day, having to commute to an appointment, fit it in after work or during lunch or something, it just felt so impossible. So I delayed seeking help for a long time. If I had had virtual options available at that time, pre COVID, I think it really would have been a game changer for me. And then fast forward to COVID, having my second child, I had already established with a therapist. I was doing virtual services, and it was so much more convenient to be sitting on the couch feeding my baby for an appointment versus having to travel somewhere. So I think it's really unlocked more access to so many people who otherwise wouldn't be able to have it.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that you really just focus on that perinatal time because that's such a hard, tough time in families' lives, but especially moms going through infertility and loss and just trying to conceive, and then pregnancy and then postpartum is brutal. And I had extreme postpartum anxiety with my second child. And I was expecting and waiting for postpartum depression, and it didn't hit. And instead, postpartum anxiety hit, and I had no idea what it was. But I remember looking at, I think it's called like BetterHelp, maybe one
Mhm.
of those like big online platforms. But I could never find a therapist that like just focused on like, that postpartum experience. They had like all these, um, I don't know what you would call it, all these. I'm blanking on the word.
They were kind of more
Yes,
general
thank
providers
you.
versus specialized
Brain
providers.
fart. Mom brain fart. Yes, they were just more generalists. And it was so I love that you just focus on that because I feel like there's a lot more help that you can provide to these moms and families rather than just like general therapy, generalizations of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very vulnerable time. A lot of people go into approaching parenthood thinking it's going to go one way. They often think it's going to be this linear journey. And then when things like infertility and loss and postpartum depression and anxiety happen, we're really thrown off course. And the truth is, when you're in graduate school to become a therapist or a psychologist, they gloss over the perinatal period. I mean, I think it was one day in 1 week of a developmental class, which is a little smidgen of my whole academic career, that this was covered. So people are coming out of school becoming therapists without really a good understanding of this period. And we know that the
Mm-hmm.
approaches that work for anxiety, treating anxiety in someone who's maybe in their 20s and going through a breakup is going to be very different than someone experiencing postpartum
Right.
anxiety. So I agree. I think that specialization is really important.
Yeah, it is. Okay, let's get into our one of two topics, right? So, guest interviews, we are one of two topics, either the confession share or a what she knows advice. So, which are we doing today for you?
Well, I love a good confession. I feel like I'm often on the other end of it as the therapist. So any opportunity to kind of share my story or what I've been through always excites me.
Oh, so excited. All right. So, then, what is your confession?
So my confession is that motherhood is really, really hard for me. And it's hard for me to sometimes say that because I have internalized this belief that because I'm a helping professional, a mental health professional, I should have all the answers and I should be able to keep it all together. But it's a daily struggle for me, honestly.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so hard. I mean, thank you for sharing, first of all. And I'm honestly right there with you. I mean, that imposter syndrome sometimes is really rough. There's so many days that even, when I'm coaching other moms that I'll go and then talk to my husband feeling like conflicted or frustrated about my own business and what I do and like frustrated about dealing with kids and trying to work and not having enough time. And it's like exactly some of the things I coach other working moms
Yeah.
on. So it's crazy how, I wouldn't say universal, but how common that is across mothers, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just so hard for a lot of us to verbalize that out loud because we do want to seem like we have a good handle on it. We have it all together and that worry that we're going to be judged. But I'm here to tell you, like, I've read all the books, I've done all the things, and I still find it incredibly difficult. And I find every different phase of it to be difficult in different ways. Like, the newborn stage was very hard for me because I really struggled with accepting that like that lack of independence and
Yeah.
how my body was changing and all those things. And now, as a mom of a 5 and a 7-year-old, this stage is particularly hard because I find myself taking behaviors more personally, which I've never done
Mm.
before. Like with toddlers, I was, I would get frustrated, right? If maybe they acted out or there was an issue or something. But I was able to remember, this is their brains, they're learning. I was able to take that pause. But at this age, I find myself, for example, like if there's a lack of gratitude for something I've done, I'm taking it a lot more personally. And I'm really struggling with being able to acknowledge that and not go down a whole spiral about it.
Mm, I feel you. So then, what would you tell someone else, a client of yours, let's say, going through that? What would you tell her?
I would I would tell her that acknowledging it is really important, that it's okay to say this is really tough and it doesn't come easy to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would tell her to really make space for that because I think that when we try to pretend, we push it away, that's really when we get into a lot of issues where we're avoiding things or we're turning to drugs, alcohol, shopping, like all the different things to try to cope with that feeling. But when we acknowledge it and we sit with it And then we try to figure out like what are my options here? What can I do to help myself cope with it? How can I support my kids? How can I work with my partner? We're kind of better able to tackle it, but I think it starts with just admitting it.
Mm, I love that. I agree. And do you think it's like it's okay that sometimes we struggle a lot as moms in motherhood in different phases, that it's not all as glamorous as it's chalked up to be when you just look at Instagram and social media, that it's okay that it's hard and sometimes there's days where we don't love it, but we love our kids, but it's just hard.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely do. And it's something that I try to put out there. I try to put the truth out there, the reality out there, to try to counterbalance some of this highlight reel stuff that we're all
Mhm.
getting exposed to. Um, I think the more we can acknowledge it, the more we can talk about it, then just generally the less alone people feel when they're the ones that are going through it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is so hard to not compare yourself to others when we look at social media, right? Like I'll doom scroll through Instagram and see all these other moms who showered that day and have a full face of makeup and it's a weekend and they're like taking my kids to multiple soccer games and I'm like, I went to the park 3 times and showered yesterday and I'm just barely getting enough food for myself today. Like it's so hard not to compare yourself all the time.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's just everywhere we look, there is something to compare ourselves to. And I mean, with holidays and stuff approaching, I I admit I'm not a big Pinterest mom. Like I'm not good with the decorating. I don't have the mental bandwidth for it. I think I actually enjoyed it more before I had kids. I
Yeah.
just feel like I don't have the mental capacity to get super invested in the decorating. But when I see what everyone else does, I'm so sensitive to judging myself for it.
Hmm.
And then also, I'll have these nagging thoughts like they're only young once, you're going to regret not putting more effort. And those thoughts get me into a lot of trouble. I really have to be careful and check myself when I start going down that path. Um,
Yeah. I mean, we're recording this for anyone listening on Halloween, and I had that exact same thought today because I don't have costumes for my kids. They have like a party at daycare and like a dance party and some Halloween party stuff at daycare, but we don't have costumes. And so I just put my son in his Spider-Man pajamas with matching like shirt and pants, and my daughter is in matching Bluey pajamas. And I was like, that's the best I can do today. Like as
yeah.
a business owner and mom, and I just couldn't manage more than that. I just didn't buy something on Amazon days or weeks ago at this point. Like I just didn't get to it. The mental bandwidth, like you said. But I'll look at all these other pictures on Instagram of moms with their kids in like really cute outfits, and I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. Like this is my daughter's, it's my son's Halloween. Like I just didn't do it. Like I just
And
that
that's
mom
okay,
guilt.
right? Yeah. But I
Yeah.
totally feel you on that. You can start having some of those thoughts and going down that path. The bar is just so high today. Now it's not even just getting the costume, it's you got to get the special hair. I need like my kids are
Hmm.
K-pop demon hunters, so I need the glitter and the hair and the extra sweater and this and it's just
Hmm.
it and the difference I think today is that we're all seeing it and we're repeatedly seeing what everyone else is doing, whereas 30, 40 years ago you maybe knew what your neighbors and family were doing, but you didn't know much else.
Yep.
So we're just constantly exposed to it today.
Yeah, that is hard. Well, thank you so much for sharing your confession about this like imposter syndrome that so many of us go through. I mean, it's just so common. Okay, I want to close this out with what's like one thing or two that you would tell another mom and one of our listeners. What is your best piece of advice that you would give?
I think it's just the advice I need to hear too, which is that it's okay to not have it all together, to not love every moment, to not have it be perfection. And I think we just have to keep reminding ourselves to it because we're fed so much of the highlight reel every day,
Mm.
that I just want to reiterate that it's okay if your life doesn't look like that.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I honestly feel like I needed to hear that today too. Well, thank you so much, Emily. Where can we find you online?
Yeah, our website is joinphoenixhealth.com, and I'm also on Instagram at Dr. Emily Guarnotta.
I love it. And I'll link to that in the description as well below. Thank you so much for joining us on the Reentry Room. And for listeners, if this conversation hit home, please share it with another mom who needs to hear it today. And if you're in your first year back from maternity leave and you're in postpartum time and you're thinking about how to advocate for yourself or what's next in a career, I'd love to help you out. I'll put a link to some resources in the description as well below. Thank you so much for joining us today, Emily. Loved
Thanks for
having
having
you.
me.
All right. See y'all in the next episode.